Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Menger Institute podcast. Today, we have with us an author, a philosopher, and a comedian, Dominic Frisby. Welcome to the Menger Institute podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I wouldn't describe myself as a philosopher. I think we're all philosophers, but anyway, thank you very much for having me.
Yes,
You
I
flatter me with your description.
I didn't know you were a comedian.
Well, most people don't.
Yeah, because we met at Freedom Fest last
Yeah,
year in Palm Springs,
yeah.
and you gave me a copy of your book, Life After the State.
Oh, did I?
Yes, we traded. I gave you a copy of my book.
Okay.
And so when I looked you up, I saw you're a comedian and you make music. I was
Yeah,
impressed.
well, I write the words and somebody else writes the music, but yeah, I sing it.
Okay. How is it in comedy? I hear it's hard to get into.
Yeah, it's a very difficult business, and there's a lot of competition, and it's particularly hard at the moment because everything's so divided. Uh, and so, if you're not on, if you're just performing in mainstream comedy clubs, half the audience can hate you if you have the wrong politics. But yeah, it's a difficult business.
Hmm. And so you also do a show on gold and money.
Yeah, I have a Substack, a popular Substack, and within that, I've got a YouTube channel that I put out broadcasts in which I talk about gold and sound money and Bitcoin and investments and all that kind of thing. It's a weird double life, but it works.
Okay. So Dominic, let me ask you, what's on your mind at the moment?
Um, I'm working on a film at the moment, and it's taking up all of my time. And I'm just trying to get a producer and a director on board with it, and so that's taking up most of my energy. But I've just published a book, Secret History of Gold, that's just come out in America. Came out in the paperback's just come out in the UK, so I'm promoting that. And yeah, I'm generally trying to navigate the culture wars as best I can while creating artistic products that I'm proud of.
What's the most stressful?
Well, I don't really know. I'm not that stressed, but I work hard all the time. Trying to deal with bureaucracy is the most stressful thing.
Hmm. So I guess with the culture wars and the UK and the bureaucracy and things like this, have you been, I don't know, how have you been navigating like being a comedian and making jokes and stuff? Have they come to knock on your door?
No, but um, hang on a sec. Sorry. Uh, where? I seem to have lost um
Don't worry.
the thing. Here we go. Yeah. Uh, no, nobody's knocking on my door. I haven't been arrested for hate speech or anything like that. And I suppose I could be in theory, but I have had lots of videos removed and things like that, and I get cancelled from venues all the time, which is annoying, but it happens.
What's your movie about, if I may ask?
It's called Kisses on a Postcard, and it's about the adventures of two boys in World War II who are evacuated from their home in London, um, all the way down to Cornwall, away from their family, and the adventures they have during the war down in Cornwall.
Nice. And I take it the title of your book, The Secret History of Gold, is about what's the secret part of it?
Just it's an alluring title, and I like to talk about. I mean, everyone knows a bit about gold, but there's quite a lot of generic stuff about gold that gets trotted out. So I called it the secret history because there's a lot that you didn't know about gold that I tell, but you'll have to read the book to find out about that.
Excellent. And the title of your one of your other books, Life After the State, has always been a very captivating title for me. Do you like the term anarchist? Do you identify as an anarchist or anarcho-capitalist? Or
Yeah, very
what's
much so. The problem with that term is that it means different things to different people, and so it allows for a lot of confusion. If you a policeman says he's an anarchist, that means he just wants to cause trouble and chaos. Whereas I would argue that anarchy is probably, at least in theory, the most peaceful existence that we can have. And anarchy is peace and order and all the rest of it. So it depends on your definition of the term. And like all these terms that mean different things to different people, that the danger of using them is that they mean different things to different people, and it allows for a lot of misunderstanding. You know, inflation is another one of those words, racism, they all mean different things to different people. And they also mean different things at different points in time. So, yes, but I have a lot of sympathy for the anarcho-capitalist worldview, for the anarchist worldview, as defined by anarcho-capitalists, meaning as little government or no government, and peaceful accord and free trade and progress and invention and innovation as a result. Yes, and sometimes I'm a minarchist, and then I think we need a little bit of government, maybe 10%, a bit like we had at the 19th century, and then at the turn of the 20th century. And then if I go to a Bitcoin conference or something like that, I tend to get a bit more absolutist about it.
Excellent. I think you probably hear this similarly too, but a lot of people will be like, well, we need government because human nature wouldn't allow us to exist without a state. But it's like if you're looking at human nature, that's the reason why we can't have government because governments are gonna corrupt it. They're gonna turn it into a political monopoly and become bureaucratic.
Well, yeah, one of the things it says that I said on my Wikipedia page, although I don't recall ever actually saying it, um, I've certainly said things along those lines, but I didn't actually say it. But is that whenever a government gets involved in a situation, you can bet your bottom dollar it's just going to make the situation worse. And so, yeah, I mean, an argument I have with people all the time is that, people go, well, we wouldn't have healthcare without the National Health Service. And I go, no, we'd have much better healthcare and much cheaper healthcare. And people go, oh, well, we wouldn't have schools without public schools. And I'm like, well, no, actually, we'd have better schools and so on. So I just don't think we need government for most things that, you know, if the government needs to build a road, it turns to the private sector contractors anyway. And so it's, whoever pays for the roads and however they're built by the same people at the end of the day. And whether the government supplies the healthcare or the private sector is still going to be the same nurse, but just the way that it gets to you is just much better and much cheaper. I mean, I don't mean it's going to be the same nurse, but you take my point. And so, yeah, I just, if you follow that argument to its logical conclusion, we don't really need a government for anyone. But people hate the idea because they always want to know what the plan is. What's the plan? And my plan is that there is no plan. There's a million plans, or however many people in that country, because everyone has their own plan, and we put all those plans together, and that results in the best outcome rather than one bloke in head office with a single plan for everyone.
There's a lot of people in the US who want a nationalized healthcare system, medical care system. And with the NHS in the UK, why do so many people have a religious support or conviction to support a
Because
nationalized health
the
service?
state replaced the church. Before, we worshiped God and the church provided education and healthcare and welfare and all those things. Now it's fallen to the state, so people worship the state instead. That's the the process that's taken place. And people always go, well, if we didn't have a national health service, we'd end up with what America has. And America's always the example of what you would have if you didn't have a health service. Well, Americans government spends twice as much per capita on a purchasing power parity basis as we do in the UK, and you've got this unholy mix of private and public, and private bodies exploiting public sector monopolies and insurance, and the whole incentive structure is completely wrong. And as a result, you've got this ludicrously expensive system that you have in America, where the outcomes are probably even worse than they are in the UK. Like
Yeah,
night at work.
yeah. I think when we had the separation of church and state, that was a kind of a step for human freedom, and I think the next major step will be the separation of state and money production. And maybe Bitcoin can facilitate this, but what do you
Well,
think?
one can only hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to separate state and money. But I'm not aware of any civilization in all of history that's successfully done that for a sustained period. I mean, gold was sort of independent, so they used gold and minted gold, but so that sort of brought a modicum of independence, but even that got abused because they
Yeah.
just debased the coins.
Yeah. Well, maybe not in history, but maybe in the future. That is
Well,
yet to
one can
come.
only hope.
When people ask like, "Oh, we're not gonna have an anarchist society in our lifetime," what do you think? Like, do you think? I think it's closer than people realize.
Maybe. I mean, I just did a gig in Liverpool Co. And it sort of exists in Liverpool Co. Although Liverpool Co. has only got a few tents on it, so it's the if you compare society today to society in 1900, GDP was taxation was at kind of 10% uh, of of GDP, whereas taxation is now 40-50% if you factor in inflation. But so we're less free in that point of view, but we're more free because we've got mobile phones and cars and aeroplanes and trains and boats and means to communicate and means to move and means to do things because of technology that we didn't have 100 years ago or 125 years ago. So we're we're more empowered. So in a sense, we're more free because we have more power, even though we're more controlled by the government. So it's not just a matter of government. But yeah, I mean, I don't understand why, some techno billionaire hasn't just bought a large part of Chad or Mauritania or, a huge swathe of worthless desert somewhere and just declared an independent nation there. I just don't understand why nobody has done that yet. I know people are thinking about it, but there must be some reason why they haven't, or, they've attempted seasteading and so on, but you usually end up better off back in a civilized, developed country. You end up happier. But maybe, yeah, I mean, I don't rule it out. Maybe we'll get independent city states at some point in the future
Yeah.
as more and more nations go bankrupt and fiat money collapses and, the bond market implodes and interest rates spiral. It becomes more and more of a possibility.
Do you have any prediction of when maybe all that would happen with the collapsing of the fiat currencies?
Well, it's an ongoing process that's been going on since 1971 or since 1914. And, there are periods when it accelerates and there are periods when it slows down. It accelerated during COVID, obviously. So I don't think, we look back and say, the Roman Empire collapsed, and there are sort of dates when the Huns crossed the Danube and things like that. Sorry, the Goths, but or when Rome fell, but really it was an ongoing process that took hundreds of years, and I think this one's the same. So, we'll see the dollar and the pound much weaker in 5 or 10 years' time, but whether we see actual, collapse, because we think in stories and we want everything to happen like it does in a film, but real life's much more gradual.
Yeah. Um, how do you navigate your professional relationships and friendships with some of your ideas about freedom and being anti-statist?
Well, a lot of my friends think I'm horrendous, but so I just don't talk about it with them. And they're the ones who talk politics all the time, and I tend to avoid it. I only really like talking politics with people I agree with, because if I talk politics with people I disagree with, it just becomes a source of disagreement and discord and confrontation. And, sometimes you want that, but most of the time I just can't really be bothered to argue. And the fact is, most people are completely wedded in their worldview and they think they're right. And it's very hard to change their mind about something. And again, changing their mind is a gradual process. So I just try and make the arguments as well as I can in my creative output. But I found that just direct confrontation with people doesn't yield. I don't really like it, apart from anything else, so I tend to avoid it.
Nice. Well, you seem very productive in your creative output. How do
I
you,
I try to
yeah,
be.
yeah, how do you manage being a writer, working on a movie and comedy, and then your broadcast?
I just I don't have a lot of time, is the answer. I just work hard and use all the available hours that I have.
Nice. Is that something you recommend or
Um, I guess one of the mistakes I made is doing too many things, and then you sort of don't get known for everything. You become a sort of jack of all trades. If I focused on one thing more, then I'd probably be better known, but in that one little world, because I just have more energy to devote to that one thing. And people like you doing one thing so they can categorize you. But unfortunately, I haven't done that. And I suppose I could change, but I won't. So I just carry on pursuing multiple things at once.
well, I mean, I like that. I aspire to pursue multiple things. It reminds me of the Renaissance man ideal.
Well, that's very flattering. And it is that ideal, but perhaps, I'm certainly no Da Vinci or Isaac Newton or someone like that. But even Isaac Newton was like he was. Few people know that he was an alchemist. He was obsessed with alchemy, and he was also did all his mathematics and his optics and his physics and all of that. And he was the warden of the Bank of England, or sorry, the warden of the Mint, and became master of the Mint. And so he had his time taken up, reminting, organising the great recoinage, two great recoinages, in fact. And so, and then he would investigate fraud and counterfeit coinage and all of that, and have the counterfeiters strung up at the gallows. And so, he managed it, but I think his IQ was considerably higher than mine.
Wow. How do you go about your writing process or tips or advice for writing?
I try and write as much as possible when I'm walking. I find that very productive, so I'll often dictate while I'm walking. Um, whether it's an article or songs, that's if you're looking at, but the main thing is to get something on the page. Once you've got something on the page, until you've got something on the page, you've got nothing. So, and it's very easy to just daydream and have nothing on the page, and hours can go by. So, however you do it, get something on the page. You don't have to use it. You can always delete it, but until you've got something, you've got nothing.
I like that. I like that a lot. And then let me ask you your next upcoming projects beyond this movie and music.
There is nothing.
Oh,
This movie's going to take me 3 or 4 years.
nice. Do you have a,
I've,
do you
I'm
have,
tempted to write another book, but I just don't have the time.
what would
I've
it
got
be
lots of
about?
shows coming up, and I continue writing my newsletter. So all of those things will take up time.
What would your next book be about?
I'm very interested in writing a book about the way we measure things and why our systems of measurement are messed up and what it has led to. And by that, I mean how we measure distance, how we measure weight, how we measure proportion, how we measure wealth, and any number of other things. All our measurements are wrong. And it's how we measure economic size. And so I'm interested in writing a book about that, but my agent has told me in no uncertain terms it's not commercial enough.
How would you like to have wealth and economic size measured?
You should use gold as your unit of account instead of dollars and pounds, because gold is constant, and gold supply grows at the same rate as population growth. So there's as much gold per capita now as there ever was at any point in history. Actually, there's a tiny bit more, but it's negligible. Whereas, you use dollars or pounds, you're losing 7 or 8% to inflation every year. And by inflation, I mean money supply growth. But we use dollars and pounds because we have to pay our taxes in those currencies. And so that's the money that we account in, but it's a completely flawed measure. And if you measure wages and economic growth and prices and everything else, you should use gold as your measure. It's a much better unit of account, and you get a completely different picture.
Excellent. Is there any advice you could give to the next generation of students?
How old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay. And when did you have you finished your studies, or are they ongoing?
I have one more year in my doctorate program in
Okay.
economics.
In economics. And what are you what where are you studying it?
Ray Juan Carlos in Madrid under Philip Baggis.
Oh, okay. So are you in Madrid now, or are you in the East? I thought you
No,
were on the West Coast.
I'm on the West Coast, but the doctorate program is just write a 300-page dissertation and get it published into a book. And
Okay.
yeah, my dissertation is on the economics of suicide.
Oh, wow. Ah, I've got your book on now, and now it all makes sense. So your book is
Yeah.
on my shelf next to my bed on my must-read list.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Thank you.
yeah, no, it's all making sense now. Um, so yes, my advice to students is don't take yourself too seriously. Uh, Whenever you're making a decision, try and make the decision that allows for the most luck to come into your life. So, for example, a really basic version of that would be, do I stay in this evening or do I go to this party with these people that I'm not very interested in? Well, if you stay in, nothing's going to happen. Unless, you could write something genius or compose something artistic of genius. But if you're just going to stay in and watch telly, nothing's going to happen. Whereas if you go out, you never know who you're going to meet. And so the act of going out allows for a lot more luck to come into your life. So I think it's always, if you're not sure what to do, that's often a good way of framing a decision. What allows for the most luck? But it might be that you're a introverted person and you don't like people and you're just a writer, and so maybe staying in is the better thing to do because you might write something really good. But I think that's an important way of framing everything. Um, I, it's amazing when you're in your 20s, apparently trivial decisions that you don't realize are important at the time have huge ramifications for the rest of your life. Which do I turn left at this crossroads or right? And so many of my big things that have happened to me have been the result of decisions that I really didn't think about at the time. And it's not necessarily good to think about decisions. Sometimes making a decision is more important than making the right decision. Um, so yeah, don't procrastinate, just get on with whatever it is. But try lots of different things. And if something makes you happy, then do that. And I don't include booze and drugs in that because that's a false, they make you feel good, but that way bad things lie. You're much better off. Don't drink too much, don't smoke too much. Yeah, it's fun getting off your face or whatever, but it doesn't lead to good things long term. You just look at people in their 50s who drink a lot versus people who don't, and you realize that alcohol is not good over the long term. Yes, it frees you up and loosens you and so on, but it's a dangerous thing. Um, but yeah, when so try lots of different things. I've got four kids, 20, 22, 24, and 25. Sorry, 20, 21, 24, and 25. And they're all just each, they're all so different. And, they're at it's such a difficult time in your life in your mid and early and mid 20s. And, a lot of the time you can be just shy or scared. And you've just got to train yourself to get over it and just get out there and talk to as many people and be nice to everyone, be good to everyone, because you don't know which of the people that you're surrounding yourself with are going to amount to something and which aren't. And often it's the least suspecting people that amount to something, and people you think are going to be hugely successful just turn out to be kind of nothing. So, and so, the friends you make now could turn out to be the networks that support you for the rest of your life. And so, if you think in terms of building networks and just being liked and being likable, and, often a way to get liked is to help, how can I help you with this? Just be helpful. But those kind of, whereas if you're just an arsehole, people remember. I've got grudges against people who are arseholes from things that happened 35 years ago. And it's just ridiculous that I should be like that. But people hold grudges and you create stories in your mind. And that's the guy who did this. And I just never forgotten it. And people are like that. You don't forget. And so just remember that people remember. So be the guy that people will want to help rather than the guy that people don't like. Um, don't really know what else to say, but it's all sort of rambling really, but do what you're interested in. There's a really good thing, Ichigai. You have to work out what you like. I can't remember what it is now. It's like the intersect what you do should be at the intersection of what you like, what benefits the world, what interests you, and what makes money. I can't remember what the four are, but that Ichigai is a really useful guide to how to think when you're working out what you want to do with your life. Um, Surround yourself with people who are better than you and they'll lift you up. And I can't think of what else to say, but there's some thoughts there.
That was beautiful. Well, thank you, Dominic. That was great.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah.
Um, I guess I just would like to ask, I mean, I know you said very nice things, but if there's anything else you would like to add,
Um, Not that strings to mind. I hope that talk was useful to people. Um, funny thing, when you get into I'm 56 now, when you get into your 50s, I'm still just as driven and just as ambitious as I ever was, but at the same time, you kind of mellow out a bit. And so you just get a lot more content. But, I spent so much of my 20s not knowing what I wanted to do. I mean, a stage I would just like, there were times I was so lost, I would just like literally break down in tears in the street. And I sort of bottled it all up. But you just got to sort of, you just got to go with what interests you. And life has a habit of working its way out. And stay away from bad eggs, bad energies. I think life is very difficult at the moment for people in their 20s with everything that's going on and how you get saddled with all these taxes and then you're paid in shit money and then basic things like houses cost so much money. It's just very difficult, but you'll find a way. And if you're in a relationship with someone who you don't really want to be with for the rest of your life, you may as well not hang it. There's no point being in that relationship because uh, if you're sure you're not going to be with them, then you may as well just end it because you want to be with the person you want to be with. And my dad always used to say it's really important to love who you love and what you love are the two things that matter. And they really do. And you want to surround yourself with people you love. And if the person you love doesn't want to be with you, it's very hard, but you just have to get over it and find someone else who does, who values you for what you are and what you have.
I love it. I love it. I
And
will,
young men, society doesn't like young men. It values young women, but men's stock gets stronger as they get older. Biology is very kind to men, much kinder to men than it is to women by the aging and the biological process.
hmm Yeah, I like it. Dominic, thank you so much.
No
Um,
problem at all.
I'm gonna link everything that you've mentioned in uh
Sure.
in the
Yeah,
description.
if people want to follow me on Twitter or the Flying Frisby, sign up to my newsletter. That'd be great. But if they can't be bothered, it's not the end of the world.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dominic.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.